more crisp
आपने
question.
दो क्वेश्चन पूछ लिए। अब तीसरा अगर समय रहा तो पूछिएगा। तो पहले मैंने कहा कि कोई हमारा इसके लिए लक्ष्य हमने कोई निर्धारित नहीं किया है, लेकिन हमें आशा है कि काफी स्वस्थ और अधिक मात्रा में हमारे को फ्लोज इसमें जो विभिन्न हमने जो मेजर्स जो हमने आज अनाउंस किए हैं उसकी वजह से आने चाहिए। दूसरा, आपका जो गोल्ड मोनेटाइजेशन के बारे में अभी कोई प्रस्ताव जो है उसके बारे में विचाराधीन नहीं है।
Thank you, sir.
धन्यवाद सर। I now request Anurag Shah from ET Now Swadesh to ask his question. Anurag, please.
Thank you, sir. ना गार्ड्स ना गन्स, घर के सेफ्टी के लिए बस एक
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
yeah. Thank you, sir. I will request Ms. Lata Venkatesh from CNBC TV 18 to please ask the.
थैंक यू सर। सर, आम लोगों से जुड़ा हुआ एक सवाल समझना चाहूंगा सर, क्योंकि सर लोगों का आरबीआई पे भरोसा है और आप सही आंकलन कर सकते हैं। तो मौजूदा आर्थिक स्थिति को आरबीआई किस तरह से देखता है, कितनी चुनौतीपूर्ण है, और आरबीआई के लिए सर अब चिंता आगे चल के क्या रहेगी, ग्रोथ की रहेगी या महंगाई की रहेगी? क्योंकि सर ग्रोथ के आंकलन में आपने आज कहा कि बर्डन शेयरिंग जो होगी आगे चल के वो भी काफी महत्वपूर्ण होगी, वो भी ग्रोथ को तय करेगी। तो सर उसे कैसे देखते हैं? और सर आजकल भारत के अंदर काफी चर्चा चल रही है डॉलर के मुकाबले रुपए के स्तर को लेके, बुद्धिजीवी लोग, अर्थशास्त्री लोग, हर कोई अपनी राय दे रहा है। तो सर आरबीआई उसको कैसे देख रहा है? क्या ये एक बस प्रक्रिया का हिस्सा है? अगर निकट भविष्य में वो 3 डिजिट का आंकड़ा भी होता है तो दैट्स जस्ट अ नंबर, नथिंग मोर।
नहीं, देखिए, जो हमारी आर्थिक स्थिति है, जैसा कि हमने अपने वक्तव्य में भी कहा है, तो वो काफी सुदृढ़ है, बहुत सक्षम है, स्वस्थ है। ये जो एक ग्लोबल शॉक है वो उसमें भारत अकेला नहीं है। सभी देश जो है इससे इम्पैक्टेड हैं। जहां तक भारत की स्थिति है, हम तुलनात्मक दृष्टि से हम लोग न केवल अन्य देशों से तुलना की जाए, बल्कि पूर्व के इस प्रकार के जो शॉक्स हमारे सामने आए हैं, दोनों दृष्टि से हम लोग आज काफी बेहतर स्थिति में हैं। चाहे वो आर्थिक हमारी वृद्धि हो 6.5% से ऊपर, वो बहुत कम देशों की है, किसी की भी नहीं है। जो मेजर जो देश हैं, बड़े देश हैं, किसी के भी नहीं है। और जहां तक मुद्रास्फीति की आपने बात करी, तो मुद्रास्फीति निश्चित रूप से जो है इससे बढ़ेगी, क्योंकि अगर ऑयल के प्राइसेस बढ़े हैं तो वो सब जगह पे बढ़ रहे हैं। लेकिन यही उम्मीद कर सकते हैं कि ये ज्यादा लंबे समय तक नहीं रहे, काफी अनिश्चितता है, तो उसके बाद में हमारे को मालूम चलेगा। लेकिन जो हमारी अर्थव्यवस्था की स्थिति है वो काफी सुदृढ़ है, वृद्धि अच्छी है, हमारे बैंक्स वो सक्षम है, सुदृढ़ है, हमारा जो कॉरपोरेट जगत है उसके पास में भी उनकी जो बैलेंस शीट्स हैं वो भी बहुत स्वस्थ हैं। बाहरी जो स्थिति है, आपने रुपए के बारे में बात की, तो वो भी हमारे जो फॉरेक्स रिजर्व्स हैं वो हमारे पास में पर्याप्त मात्रा में है, और 11 माह का जो हमारा आयात, गुड्स का जो आयात है उसको कवर करने के लिए पर्याप्त है। कुल मिलाकर के हम काफी बहुत अच्छी स्थिति में हैं, और हम काफी विश्वस्त हैं कि इस स्थिति से हम लोग अच्छी तरह से हम न केवल निपटेंगे, बल्कि इस स्थिति को एक अपने लिए एक अपॉर्चुनिटी मानते हुए और अधिक हम अपने आप को सक्षम और सुदृढ़ बनाएंगे, ताकि इस प्रकार की जो क्राइसिस या शॉक्स आते हैं उनको हम बेहतर और अधिक बेहतर तरीके से निपट सकें.
धन्यवाद सर.
Liquidity, as I've mentioned, we will provide the appropriate amount of liquidity so that credit in the system, not only bank credit but other bonds, etc. also can be provided to meet the needs of the economy. There's no level that we generally target. You have seen we gave about 2.6 lakh crore of liquidity in the last 2 months since we have met, and we'll continue to provide appropriate liquidity as is needed.
Thank you, sir. I'll now request Jaspreet Kalra from Thomson Reuters to ask his question. Jaspreet, please.
Thank you, sir. So, you've announced measures aimed at garnering capital inflows today, via FCNR, ECB, etc. Are you also considering measures to slow down outflows, perhaps through restrictions on liberalized remittance schemes, overseas debt investments? Is that something under consideration? And because some of my peers took the liberty, I hope you'll allow me. You speak a lot about inflation expectations. In the recent data that we've seen in RBI surveys, they've started to drift up. How do you sort of closely track that? Are there supplementary tools that you're looking to maybe measure inflation expectations in more real time to be able to stay ahead of that curve? Thank you.
See, as and when, first of all, there is no, such measure right now under consideration to restrict any kind of, capital flows, outflows. On your second question, which is related to inflation expectations, we do our household surveys, so that is the primary source, through which we get the data. And other than inflation expectations, the prices, when they are passed on,
to come out, you have issued categorization draft circular. There are views on, floating around on one CIC which has applied for deregistration as well. When can we expect the upper, the next upper layer list to come out? And if you could allow me to ask, because this is the largest private bank of country, we have seen a lot of developments happening with regard to how its governance is being played out. Is the regulator concerned in any manner on this particular aspect? Thank you.
See, we don't, you are aware, we don't, answer any entity or bank specific questions. We are more, we are looking at, system level things. So that's, on your second part of the question. Your first part
updated layer of.
See, the list is there already, right? So it continues till the time, we have a new list.
When will we have it? It was supposed, it gets updated on a yearly basis. That's why I'm asking.
So we'll do it shortly.
Thank you, sir. I'll now request Ankur Mishra from ET Now to ask his question. Ankur, please.
Thank you, Brice, sir, for the opportunity. Good afternoon, Governor. You mentioned during the monetary policy statement that the crude oil prices has been more than the assumptions which were there in the last monetary policy. I want to understand what is the assumption now. Apart from that, you also mentioned about the exchange rate policy, where you are saying about speculative pressures and how Reserve Bank of India responds to that. In the past, you have taken few measures regarding the same. Are there more measures which are expected from Reserve Bank of India?
No, there are no specific measures, but as I have mentioned, in case they are required, especially to curb speculative kind of a behavior, then we will take them in case they are required. Assumption for crude is $95 to a barrel, so it's changed, from our previous ones and previous assumption, and that is one of the reasons, why inflation is higher projected inflation is higher.
Thank you, sir. I now request Shayan Ghosh from Mint to ask his question. Shayan, please.
Governor, on the issue of deposits, generally, I mean, what has happened with the bank, they also justified it as an industry practice. My question is, as an
Which
industry,
practice?
The practice of giving differential interest rates and masking it probably.
No, our policy, I mean, we do allow differential interest rates.
Right.
So sorry, please complete your question.
On a systemic level, I was asking because they justified it saying that it's an industry practice. Is RBI okay with an industry practice like that? Where you give differential interest rate but route it through something else.
I think you are referring to some individual specific instance, bank, which we don't comment on. However, as I've mentioned, I think perhaps now the earlier question, I think they are connected. So, we have a very consistent and a very clear policy for deposits as to when they can have differential rates. I think for certain categories of people like, senior citizens, depending on tenor and things like that, you can have differential rates. I'll ask one of my colleagues, to tell you on what basis you can have differential rates. But they have to be transparent at the same time. You have to display them to everyone clearly. And any differential rate beyond that is certainly if someone is giving is certainly not acceptable. Where the needs, of the economy are more, and the benefits are also, passed on to the general public, because they are catering more, to public utilities, infrastructure. So the benefits go to a much larger section of society when we give it to the public sector undertaking. If you give it to private, then the benefits are not as widely dispersed as they are when we give such kind of a benefit to the PSUs.
Thank you, sir. I now request Mayur Shetty from Times of India to ask his question. Mayur, please.
Thank you, sir. Governor, you announced a whole lot of measures to attract fixed income inflows. Do you see a role for interest rates here? In the past, whenever such measures were taken, there were higher rates offered to attract capital. Or do you expect banks to offer better returns under these schemes?
Yes, obviously, because I think one of you asked, this will enable banks to increase the deposit rates for the non-resident and the OCI depositors.
This is despite the reduced interest rate differential between India and
Yes.
Thank you, sir. We now take the remaining questions from the left side. I'll request Falakna Syed from Deccan Chronicle to ask a question. Falakna, please.
Good afternoon, Governor. Thank you for the opportunity. Sir, there's a 50 basis points upward revision in baseline CPI inflation forecast with upside risk. So this strengthens the case for a rate hike in the next meeting. And also, if you look at the bond market, they are factoring 3 rate hikes. The yields are now around 7%, 10-year benchmark yields.
So what's your question?
So the question is that it's strengthening the 50 basis revision with upside risk in CPI. It's strengthening a case for a rate hike in the next meeting.
In the next meeting or later, whether it strengthens the case or not, I don't know. But obviously, I mean, it's adverse. It's more adverse, than it was previously. Certainly, yes. Whether it strengthens the case will depend on many other things, as already mentioned. We'll have to see whether it is actually getting generalized. It's not, as I mentioned, again and again. It's not, just one. If it is a one-time increase, then you look through. But if it is getting generalized, it is getting persistent, it is getting into expectations, then is the time to act. So for that, we have to wait and we have to watch.
Thank you, sir. I now request Krishna Kaushik from Financial Times to ask his question. Krishna, please.
Hi, good afternoon, sir. So I want to understand, you mentioned that there's a good environment for private capital investments to grow. But have you seen private capital expenditure growing? Because there has been a bit of a frustration on the government side on that as well. The private entities are not investing enough. Along with that, why do FDI inflows remain negative? You mentioned that in the first 3 months or the first 2 months till now, basically, it's been about $14 billion that has outflown. So why are these two things? Can you just comment on that, sir?
See, investments are healthy. If you look at data, the data, for the second advanced estimates for last year, and even if you look at some of the high frequency indicators in terms of capital goods, imports, production, H1 numbers of fixed asset growth, H1 was very good. It was in 2 digits. H2 has moderated, but still it's high single digits. So if you look at all these indicators, it's decent. Of course, there is always scope for more. Inflows also have been, FDI, I think we gave you the numbers. It's continuing, gross FDI has been. But would you like to add on the remittances and, on the inflows as to how, the situation looks like?
So I can add to the overall situation of capital flows, as well as capital investment in the country. As Sir said, private capital formation numbers actually have been very healthy. Investment to GDP ratio has been turning upwards. So those numbers remain healthy. More can certainly happen. If we look at the BOP side, gross FDI flows were $95 billion in 25-26. Can be much more this year, for all we know. Certainly top 100 billion can go up to, 110, 120, if not more. And it's a secular increase, which means it's not a story that we can pin down to only 1 year. There are years coming which will see even healthier inflows of gross FDI. And with the measures that have been announced, we are looking at and projecting a very healthy BOP going forward.
The net still remains negative, right? FDI.
So we do not have projections for this year, and that remains to be seen on how things pan out. Net FDI is also a combination of, globally how things are. And those are, things that get settled over a period of time. But one can talk more confidently today about the gross FDI numbers, which are looking very healthy.
Net FDI was also positive. It was not negative, 6.7 or so last year. And April numbers, gross FDI is 15 billion and net is also about 7 or 8 billion, if I remember correctly. That's also positive. So 15 billion in 1 month is a very high number. We don't have the monthly figures. A lot of it was to do with the financial sector. So we are confident, as DG also mentioned.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, madam. I now request Lalatendu Mishra from The Hindu to ask his question. Lalatendu, please.
Good afternoon, Governor. Last month, the Prime Minister urged the people of India to do a lot of things, like not to go on foreign travel. He said postpone buying gold, then do work from home, also do carpooling and reduce fuel consumption. And now you told, to Anurag's question, things are better. Has the thing changed since then, and what could be the reason for him to tell all these things? Thank you, sir.
You have to ask him, and you have to ask yourself as to what the reason therefore is. I think it's important for us, all of us, to be, to be prudent, to be judicious, to not be wasteful. That's the message I think that he gave, and it should be taken in that spirit.
Thank you, sir. I now request Nachiket Kelkar from Business Today to ask his question. Nachiket, please.
Thank you, Governor. Seemingly there is enough cash in circulation, but we also keep hearing that ATMs are running short of cash, they are running dry. Is RBI looking at it? What are the issues there? Are you worried about it, or something needs to be done there?
No, see, we have a plan. Every year we build a plan of what the requirement of currency is, and that is provided to the banks as and when it is required. The ATM part I have not looked into, but certainly, we will, if there is a shortage, we will certainly, ensure that the shortage is met with. We have sufficient currency to provide and fill and refill the ATMs and the bank branches.
Thank you, sir. I now request Manish Suvarna from PTI to ask his question. Manish,
thank you, sir. Good afternoon, sir. So you mentioned that you are expecting good amount of flows because of the measures you have announced today. So how much incremental flows can we expect? And secondly, sir, I just want to understand, you explicitly flagged implication for the rural demand from projected monsoon deficiency. So do you see a risk of weaker rural consumption spilling over to the private consumption growth?
Number I already mentioned, we don't have a specific number, but obviously it's all put together, it will be very healthy. Answer to your second question, rural demand, well, yes. Private consumption, well, yes. Some impact will be there.
Thank you, sir. I now request Akash Mandal from Indian Express to ask his question. Akash, please.
Good afternoon, Governor, Deputy Governors. The RBI has intervened heavily in the forwards market in the past year or so, with the RBI also bearing the full hedging cost of the new 3 to 5 year FCNRB deposits, in addition to the concessional forex swap window for the ECBs of PSUs. Does the RBI expect some forex pressure going ahead, and how does the central bank expect to mitigate or manage this risk in the going forward?
No, we don't expect, but we are always prepared. As mentioned, we have sufficient reserves, and we have the buffers, and we will do, whatever is required in order to ensure that we have good flows and we are able to maintain an orderly movement of the rupee. These are the primary, areas that we will focus on.
Thank you, sir. We will now take the remaining questions from the right side. I'll request Shama Mishra from Doordarshan to ask her question. Shama, please.
Namaskar, sir. Sir, आपके statement में there was one word which was continuously coming, that is uncertainty. Which is that one risk that you're watching very closely right now? And one more thing, gold reserves or gold holdings is constant. So is it a policy to not trade in gold?
No, we don't. There was some news, that we have sold gold or something. So there is no such sale. There's only a marginal increase in our gold holdings. Uncertainties on various accounts. It's on account of the conflict, the duration of the conflict, the time it will take for restoration of supplies. There is uncertainty about the monsoon, the El Nino. So there are various uncertainties which have implications for both inflation and for growth.
Here is how I created a layout just for swing trading on DEX T3. If you like catching multi-day moves,
or they fold out and what impact they have.
So any one risk that you are like really worried about it?
No, the major risk today is concern or uncertainty is how long, these supply disruptions continue and what impact they have on prices. And availability is, as of now, not so much of a concern. It's more, as of now, it is price. So that is what we are looking for as to how long, that remains. That I think is number one. After that, will be the monsoons and the El Nino and other things.
Sir, may I interrupt? This confusion on gold came because weekly bulletins show a reduction.
Achha, really?
Yeah, and I think you're mark to market. So if you can
in
tell
tons,
us.
Okay.
No, that is in dollars.
That's in
that
dollars.
Is in dollars.
Yeah.
So it must be a price revaluation.
Right.
Maybe you all can clarify, is it done every month? Is it done alternate Fridays? Or I don't know what. Then this confusion or
no, whenever we give out the numbers, then obviously, the value would be the same frequency, I think we do it weekly.
Yeah, the amount is given weekly. It is in the weekly supplement.
Yeah, we give the weekly. So the price will also be, weekly changed. It will be revalued weekly. I mean, it cannot be that you give the value weekly and the price is adjusted in a different, I mean, that's my understanding. And I suppose that's how it should be.
But is there a stigma attached to set of bonds? Like there is nationalistic pride for the value of the rupee.
Let's complete, and then we'll come back if. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Maintain that order. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I'll request Shipra Petkar from Financial Express to ask a question. Shipra, please.
Yes. Thank you, Pritza. Good afternoon, Governor. My question is on the transmission of rates. Now, despite cumulative policy easing, transmission across segments in the financial system remain uneven. Even in the annual report, there was data which said that for FY 25-26, agri saw transmission of a decline of 49 basis, whereas MSME saw a decline of around 85 basis points. Now, is the RBI satisfied with the pace of transmission, and are there any areas where further improvement is needed?
The credit growth, I mean, the proof of pudding is in eating it. I think credit growth has been very robust. 16% plus is the credit growth. Banking, total put together 15% plus. So,
thank you, sir. Sir, just one clarification on the FX measures. On both the ECB concession window as well as the FCNRB measure, will you allow like all applicants who apply for that window, for those windows until September 30th, or is there a cap that you have in mind? So that's just one clarification I would like. And the question is that looking at the inflation forecast going ahead in FY27, did the MPC discuss a rate hike? Because these measures on capital inflows are external to the MPC. So did the MPC discuss a rate hike possibly in this meeting, either because of inflation or because of the currency? Thank you.
So cap, I think you're talking about in terms of value, right?
Right.
Because the period is already there. No, so as I have said, there is no target that we have set for ourselves and we meet that target and we close that window. No, that's not the case. As to whether the monetary policy discussed whether to hike rate or not, that's the whole purpose of the meeting. Whether to hike, whether to retain or whether to reduce, that's the purpose of the meeting. So certainly all possibilities are discussed. And after that, a decision is taken.
Thank you, sir. I will request Saurav Mukherjee from ANI to ask his question. Saurav, please.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity, sir. My question to you is like you recently warned or cautioned against the excessive speculation in the rupee. Was the RBI message aimed at discouraging short sellers from from building aggressive one-way bets against the currency, and your take on the government issued ordinance to accept FIIs from capital gains tax on G6. What impact it may have on Indian economy?
Well, it will have a very on the Indian
economy.
Yeah, it's a positive move, as mentioned earlier. It's a positive move. It will further strengthen our balance of payments, and so it's a welcome move.
No, and on the rupee speculation, sir.
I don't have anything more to add. See, if there is any speculation, excessive speculation, a speculation which leads to excessive volatility, let me put it like that, any disorderly movement that we see, it's then that, we intervene and we take appropriate macro prudential regulatory measures, and we'll be watchful, we'll be vigilant, and we'll take as measures as may be necessary.
Thank you, sir. I'll request Jeevan Bhava sir from Akashvani to ask his question. Jeevan, please.
नमस्कार सर, मार्केट में ये चर्चा चल रही है कि आरबीआई कुछ प्लास्टिक के नोट्स टेम्पररी बेसिस या टेस्टिंग बेसिस पे लॉन्च करने वाला है। इन चर्चाओं में कितना तथ्य है? और मेरा दूसरा सवाल ये था कि जो करंटली जो करेंसी नोट्स है, तो बहुत सारे एटीएम्स और बैंक ब्रांचेस में उसका क्रंच चल रहा है, बहुत लॉन्ग टर्म के लिए उसके बारे में बहुत सी कंप्लेंट्स आ रही थी। तो एग्जैक्टली इसमें आरबीआई की तरफ से क्या मेजर्स लिए जा रहे हैं और ये समस्या हमें बार बार क्यों आ रही है?
पॉलीमर नोट की जहां तक बात है, वो प्रस्ताव विचाराधीन है अभी। जैसे ही कोई इसके ऊपर में निर्णय लिया जाएगा, हम आपको बताएंगे। अंडर कंसिडरेशन, विचाराधीन है। प्रपोजल इज अंडर कंसिडरेशन, फॉर दोज, बिकॉज दिस हैज नॉट बीन आस्क्ड इन इंग्लिश। प्रपोजल इज अंडर कंसिडरेशन, so whatever news articles have come, there is some truth in it, but there is no decision. It's only under consideration. We are examining the pros and cons of it, and whether it will be worthwhile to do it. It's still at a preliminary stage. It is at a preliminary stage. और जो दूसरा जो आपने कहा कि एटीएम्स में, जैसा मैंने अभी अंग्रेजी में भी मैंने बताया, हमारा पूरा प्रयास रहेगा कि जहां पे भी किसी एक दो जितनी भी जगह पे एटीएम्स में अगर कहीं पे करेंसी की कमी है, तो वहां पे हम करेंसी त्वरित गति से वहां पे पहुंचाएंगे।
धन्यवाद सर। For the final question, I'll request Somijit Saha from Nikkei to ask his question. Somijit, please.
Good afternoon, Governor. So we have seen some of our Asian peers like Thailand and Indonesia, who are ahead of us in the sowing cycle, face a little bit of not a little bit, but a fairly good amount of shortage in fertilizers. I just want to understand now that the lower monsoon forecast is pretty much unanimous across private and government forecasters. What is your updated understanding of the fertilizer crisis and its percolation down to food inflation? If you could give us some updated understanding.
My understanding is that we have sufficient fertilizer supplies for the Kharif crop, and in any case, if the monsoon is going to be, we don't know if it is going to be subnormal, then that only reduces, not increases. That's my understanding of fertilizers, because if there is less rainfall, then you can't apply. That's my understanding of the issue. So, but there is sufficient, nevertheless, there is sufficient fertilizer stock with the government.
Thank you, sir. With your permission, sir, we can now conclude this press conference.
Okay.
Sir, क्या 100% जो collateral था बैंक गारंटी के लिए क्रॉप ट्रेडिंग का, उसमें आपने थोड़ी रिलैक्सेशन दी, उसकी जो तारीख थी आपने 1 अप्रैल से 1 जुलाई कर दी, तो अभी क्या वो उसमें और रिलैक्सेशन संभव है या फिर वो नियम 1 जुलाई को लागू हो ही जाएगा?
नहीं, वो हो जाएगा। वो हमने जो है वो ढील नहीं दी थी, वो हमने समय दिया था क्योंकि समय बहुत कम था उसको इम्प्लीमेंट करने के लिए, तो इसलिए हमने जो है वो उसकी जो इम्प्लीमेंटेशन जो डेट है उसको लागू करने की जो तिथि है केवल उसको बढ़ाया हमने, और कोई उसमें ढील या छूट नहीं दी है। नहीं, कोई टाइम आगे बढ़ने की कोई उसमें गुंजाइश या जरूरत नहीं है। ओके, देयर इज नो नीड, एंड दैट वाज ओनली, वी ओनली मेड द सर्कुलर, you know, the rules, the date of applicability was extended. It should not be seen as a relief in that sense.
Sir,
Yes.
you
Last two.
Now all these measures are in place. You think there is a case to continue or discontinue the NOP cap?
No, there is no change. Whatever is there is there. There is no proposal to discontinue with what we had announced and what we have implemented.
So while your overall inflation forecast has been raised by 50 basis points from 4.6 to 5.1, for the second quarter itself, you'll have raised it by 70 basis points. I mean, from 4.4 to 5.1. It is, wouldn't it be unfair to a saver that, you know, the real return for a good 12 months is going to be, you know, far less than 1%. So should one not expect an earlier hike because of that, from the point of view of the saver?
You've asked the same question in a different form. No, the reasons you have given is different. Others are saying, you know, the inflation is inching up. You have said, you know, that the depositors' interest may get compromised, you know, for a longer period. So let's wait, let's watch, let's see, you know, how the data comes, and we will take a decision, you know, policy by policy.
Governor, so just one question on Mythos.
Last one, huh? This is really the last one.
on Mythos, the Anthropic has given access to a couple of corporates globally. In India also there are a few companies which have got, have any of the banks, you know, got the access to the new cloud model, or you know, how are you working around, you know, assessing this whole issue?
I'll request my DG, you know, he looks after the IT, cyber security. I'll request him if he can throw more light on it. To my best of my knowledge, it has not yet been given. There is talks, there are discussions on cloud and other, which, you know, hopefully we will get. But what is the preparedness? I will request whether there is, you know, this Mythos, LLM or software or not. What is our preparedness? Nevertheless, despite that, you know, we are fully prepared, and we keep, you know, beefing up. I'll request my DG to, you know, let you know of some of the measures that we are taking to be able to meet this challenge.
Absolutely. Just to supplement on that, this is an item that has been engaging our attention both at the government level and at the financial sector inter-regulatory forum level. And as you mentioned, India has been included as one of the countries that will be part of this project, with select corporates and financial entities having access to the project, but the details of which are still fully awaited. And once this opportunity opens up, how exactly to make use of it in consultation with government and with other regulators, we will take further steps. But in the meantime, in terms of getting the preparedness for the regulated entities, we have issued the required advisories. We remain fully prepared in terms of handling cybersecurity threats of this nature as well as the conventional nature. And we'll keep the market informed once we have full details and as to how we plan to handle this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. With this, we come to the end of this press conference. I'd like to thank the governor and our deputy governors for patiently answering all the questions and making this interaction engaging interaction. I thank all members of the media for the time. Wish you all a good day. Thank you.